All right, everybody, welcome back to Midnight Magic Musings. Tonight it is episode 20. That's right, we have broken a record. We have showed up for 20 episodes here on the Midnight Musings channel. I am your host, Lord Cephas, a very humble host, one who cares a tremendous amount about the people. But you could also say I'm the Tower of Power, too sweet to be sour. Perhaps you would even call me the man of the hour. I will be your tour guide this evening. I am joined, as always, by the Earl of Florida, the man, the myth, the legend. Earl, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing wonderful. I am not humble, but our family has come to accept that.
We do accept your lack of humility. Not only have I observed this, but you are correct. The entire family has observed your lack, shall we say? What? No comeback for that?
You know what? I will give it to you. Everybody out there knows I'm here for the Midnight Magic Music family, and I'm willing to forgive Lord Cephas for all his many mistakes and for stealing my corner that I frequently go to. Now, having said that, last week we did part of our live celebration was because we had hit a milestone. Lord
Sure.
Cephas, do you recall what that milestone was?
I mean, it has been a week, but I think so. I believe we had hit 70 subscribers, and so we decided to try going live for the first time.
That would be correct. Do you know how many subscribers we have this week?
Last time I looked, I think it's 82.
That is correct. So we have broached another milestone. We are now at over 80. So I have to say thank you to all everybody out there who's watching, who's clicking subscribe, who's clicking like, who's commenting. Thank you from the bottom of Lord Cephas's heart because I don't have one. I'm waiting for it to be delivered from Amazon Prime. It's in the mail. But thank you from the bottom of Lord Cephas's heart, and we're aiming for 100. When we hit 100, we're going to have a special something for all the fans and the subscribers. We'll talk more about that next week. But until then, we have a show for you today. And what is that show, you may ask? That show is going to potentially cause me to cry because there's another bet about another movie and what it'll be doing. And that movie
Yeah.
is
Oh, we'll get there. Don't steal my thunder because I've got more food coming on your behalf. But before we get into that, we would like to say to everyone watching live, we appreciate you joining us live. For those of you watching on replay, hey, we appreciate you being here as well. We just ask you to go ahead and click the like button if you would. If you've not subscribed, click the subscribe button. That really does help us in the YouTube algorithm. And then share this stuff out on social media. If you enjoy it, let other people hear it, see it. Let them make their own judgments. We certainly understand that. Everybody has their own views on things, but thank you for sharing that out there. We do appreciate it. But Earl, I know you're chomping at the bit, so let's go right into this. Let's see our first topic this evening. Guardians of the
Guardians
Galaxy.
of the box office. I mean, wait, of the galaxy. I'm sorry.
I believe
of
I
the stop.
believe they wish they were the guardians of the box office right about now.
Guardians of the shareholders.
Someone's got to do it. Um, so the reason we want to talk about this first is number one, we're big Guardians fans. We greatly enjoyed Guardians number one. We
Hmm,
greatly enjoyed Guardians number two. And so
hmm.
here we are, some 7 years later, because the last one came out in what
Yep.
2017. That was
The
volume
Mandalorian.
two.
The Mandalorian formula.
hmm So 7 years later, we are back. We're going to have the final movie in the trilogy. Okay, sounds great. Except about a month ago, several of the tracking services that we follow, Box Office Pro, Deadline, several others, began to say that the numbers weren't looking all that great for Guardians. And you and I have talked about this on the show. We talked about it off air. Surely, the Guardians, that name, is enough. There's
Yeah.
so much love. There's so much appreciation for the characters. There's the ride at Epcot, which I survived last weekend and had a tremendous amount of fun doing it as well. They're big sellers for Marvel. So surely, coming out of the fiasco that was Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, that would have no impact on this. And yet we have an article from Box Office Pro this week, which also is in line with a Deadline article and also one from Variety Magazine, giving the weekend box office forecast. Earl, and I want to get your opinion on this, but I think the most important part of this is Marvel Studios' Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is tuning up for $105 million plus domestically. Now, I have to pause right there because 105, 110 million sounds like a huge number. Where to people like us who work for a living, that's a massive number.
Yeah.
But for Hollywood, this is nothing comparatively. Ant-Man and the Wasp had 108 million, and you saw where that movie landed. And so, Earl, I hate to say it, but this movie, if it holds with tracking, it's looking to be one of the lowest openings domestically for a Marvel movie ever. What are your thoughts on this? How do you explain that?
Well, uh, see, you were talking about first of all name recognition. Guardians of the Galaxy. Everybody knows the Guardians. You know, even if you weren't a Guardian fan for the first film or the second film, the Infinity Wars, Avengers, Infinity Wars, and Endgame acquainted everybody in the Marvel fandom to everybody else because it brought everybody together. So everybody knows these characters. They recognize them. They're not like we've never seen them before. There's name recognition. You also have the actors. You have Chris Pratt, who's a very big name between Guardians, and you have obviously you have the Jurassic series that he's involved in. I enjoyed his Western take on Magnificent Seven,
Mhm.
and several others, including Terminal List, where his TV show on Amazon Prime. You've got Zoe Saldana, who's just box office gold as well because her stints with Avatar 1 and 2 makes her one of the highest grossing actor or actresses in not just the modern era, but in history, period. You've got Dave Bautista, you've got Bradley Cooper, Vin Diesel. These are all names that have a very strong fandom. So, this third outing, this trilogy, whether it's the brand or it's the franchise or it's the characters or it's the actors themselves, this movie should be a home run, grand slam, whatever you want to call it, field goal, touchdown, whatever sport analogy you want to use, it should on paper be all of those things and more. However, we're a little leery of the comic book um, box office reports because of how things have played out over the last year and a half in general.
Every bit of it, yeah.
So you want to know what my opinion is? My opinion is I owe you a pizza for Ant-Man 3. my, my opinion is somewhat tarnished, but I'm looking to redeem it. I you know what? I think Guardians of the Galaxy 3 should easily surpass Ant-Man 3 at the box office, which is still just under $500 million at the box office worldwide. And so
Well,
it
do
should.
you want to take a guess at the global haul, and we'll just make our bet off of that?
You know what? It's only fitting that you get to go first this time. I went out there and jumped and made a stance, and you took the baseball bat to both my knees, and I'm still laying there crying. I can't walk right still.
I did do that. There was a figure four leg lock applied in
It was
addition.
painful.
So I'm gonna say this movie will not break $700 million.
Okay.
I'm gonna go on the low side of that. So you can have anything over 700.
Why, thank you. I don't know if
You're
I
welcome.
want. You're the Guardian of the Galaxy fan here.
I
Uh,
am.
you're going low, so I have to go high.
Well,
So
you let me pick. You let me pick first. That's the way the game is played. It's like tic tac toe, man.
I don't like you, sir.
Well, I don't like me either. Sometimes that's okay. At least
Okay.
the Wonder Twin puppies still like me. Let me throw some numbers out at you before you answer.
How much do we know? Have we have a release yet on how much this movie costs to make the budget, or they like
It's
that?
between 200 and 250.
So they have to hit $500 million to break even. In essence.
If you don't even count their marketing budget, yeah.
This it doesn't speak well for them. Well, I
No.
mean, what do we do? For the record, we do have a, by the way, good job on the sub. So we want to say thank you to the family.
We
Uh,
do. Thank you. We greatly appreciate that.
yes, a Miss Alexandra. So thank you very
Mhm.
much. Shout out there.
Mhm.
Um, I'm gonna go. See, I think they have the potential to be $1 billion movie, but a lot of it depends also on the quality of the movie
Mhm.
and what the critics and fans say. So I can say 600,000 and I could be good, or I could say 800,000 and be good. So I'm going to say 700,000.
You do mean million, right? Not thousand. I'm a little concerned
At this point in the game, I don't know.
that
Uh,
you have lowballed that one, maybe even lower than I could lowball it.
okay, so 700 million is where I'll go.
Okay. So let me give you just a couple of numbers here to think about.
I don't
So
want.
if you go back post Endgame, okay, let's look
Okay,
at Spider-Man No Way Home. It opened with 260 million, it had 814 million. It's a massive number.
yeah.
Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness opened up with 187 and a half for a 411 million domestically.
What was
Uh,
their worldwide? Both of those.
Spider-Man broke a billion. Doctor Strange was in the 900 range.
Okay.
Black Panther: Wakanda Forever opened with 181 million, did 450, well, almost 454 million domestically, and still didn't hit a huge number. It got in the
No.
800s, but with the budget and everything, like you were saying, you break even, you make a little bit of money, but that's not what stockholders are buying stock for. They
Yeah.
love
They
those
want to make a
billions.
lot of money. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think, and I'd love to hear your opinion on this. I think part of it is post Endgame, a lot of the earnest fandom kind of slipped away because we saw the end of the story.
Yeah.
Now it's let's pick up the pieces after Endgame. And you got to remember when Marvel went through phase 1, 2, and 3, it was, hey, we're setting the stage, we're going somewhere. Well, now we've
Okay.
seen where it can go, but now you got to start over again. And some folk they don't react well to that. They don't respond to, oh, let's go on another journey. There's going to
Yeah.
be another 10, 12, 15 movies. And that's one thing I think is playing against it. I'm gonna throw this one out there, and then you tell me what you think. And that is, I think there's a general negativity right now towards Marvel and a lot of the fan base. There's a divisiveness that's certainly taken place.
Yeah.
If you look at Black Widow, released during COVID, didn't do well financially. Shang-Chi, which I liked, COVID movie, didn't do great financially. It didn't make money. Both of those lost money. Eternals, well, we'll just leave that right there. And now you've got Thor: Love and Thunder, which may have broken even when it was all said and done. You have Ant-Man and the Wasp, who lost probably 150 to 200 million for Marvel. And now there's this one that's tracking pretty low. If this is not a hit, your next movie, November, the Marvels.
Well,
It's there's a lot riding on the Guardians Volume
yeah.
3.
Well, before I say anything to that, Curious Entertainment wants to know: do you think anybody will die? And we'll get to that. That is a very good question. And
I'm
then
gonna
we have
get tissues here.
Mr. Rod Thunderheart is on, and he wants to know how we're
Rod.
doing. Uh, and he's on the road. He's still a few hours from home, so you be safe, sir. And if you don't know who Rod Thunderheart is, go check out. We had an interview with him. He has
Mhm.
a very storied career, interesting perspective, and it was a lot of fun. Go check him out. He would be in, I believe it would be Combat One, the
Yep.
playlist.
Yep.
We'll throw the link into the comments in a little bit,
Yep.
and definitely check them out. But we're doing pretty good, sir. And you know what? Guardians of the Galaxy is on a precipice where we said that for Ant-Man 3,
Hmm.
and that it did shove a lot of things one way or the other. When you're looking at there's a lot of things Disney's having issues with in real life, whether it's their parks or their policies, or there's a lot of things going on with them. So, what do you think is going to be the biggest thing? Do you think Lord Cephas? Do you think anybody's going to die first of all?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, go
You
into it a little.
you want my hit list? Okay. I think the first one that would be most likely to die would be Drax, because Dave Batista came out and said in the last week to 10 days, and he said this before. It's
Yeah,
hard, dude. And in your 50, look, I'm in 45 and I can't get in Batista shape. And here he is at 55 on screen with muscles, right? That's
yeah,
amazing what he does. I wish I could do that. I
yeah.
cannot. But he said, I want to do something different. He also said, I want to do more serious roles. We've seen him. What was the one? Knock at the Cabin?
He
Uh,
did Knock at the Cabin, which is an M. Night Shyamalan horror movie, which
right.
did well with a budget that was a very low budget and a
Yep.
very small cast. Did very well. He was also in The Glass Onion,
Hmm.
which was another Knives Out movie
Yep.
sequel done on Netflix with a very good cast that he was a part of. And if you go a little bit further back, he was in the Blade Runner sequel and several other things. He's pacing himself out and exploring things. So I understand where he's coming from, both as a, you know, slowly starting to get up there in years myself a little bit, and just a little bit. But then also, he's willing to explore more and stretch his legs. So I can understand where he's coming from.
The other cast member who said something very similar last week today, you mentioned her, Zoe Saldana. She's got Avatar. She had Star Trek. We're not sure where that is. What Jar Jar? I mean, J.J. Abrams is doing with that. Um, but her career still on a trajectory going up. So she can
Yeah,
kind of leave the Marvel stuff behind. Not that it's bad, but she's ready to move on and do something else. I mean, this is 10 years, dude,
yeah.
of being identified with the same character. Oh no, by the way, on the Guardians ride in Epcot, she's in it there, so she will be forever immortalized as that character.
Okay.
Um, so I think Drax is a really strong possibility. I think it is possible that they kill Rocket, that he makes an ultimate sacrifice, a la an Iron Man, a Tony Stark. I
I think he'll die a different way. He's going to contract rabies, and they're gonna have to put him down tearfully, of course.
you absolutely disgust me, and I don't like you right now. I think it's a real possibility. I hope not, because he's very marketable for Disney. He's on the statues. If you go to Epcot, I mean, he's all over the place. But
Well,
I think it's possible for that as well.
well,
Now,
the rumors for Rocket is that he actually gets caught. On a serious note, he gets caught rummaging through a trash can behind a restaurant, and they shoot him, and he makes it away, but he dies and becomes roadkill. That's the official storyline, that the scoop that we've heard from the Baron.
listen. Oh, the Baron said that. Well, look, I have lived through Deadpool. Deadpool kills the Marvel universe. Doctor Doom kills the Marvel universe. That is not a proved canon. So you just sit over there and let the adults talk for a
What
minute.
about Disney killing the Marvel universe?
Okay, you're just not going to let that one go. That was rough. That you can make that argument in some cases. I do want to address Jelly Bean though real quick, who says, "Hey, are there going to be more Guardians in the future?" I think it really just depends on how successful the movie is. I think with the Ravagers set up the way they have with Sylvester Stallone, I
Michael
think that
Rosenbaum,
I
Michelle
think
Yeoh.
I love me some Michael Rosenbaum. If you get a chance and you want something to listen to, I know Rod drives a lot. This might help him. Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum, really good show. I enjoy it. He has a lot of different guests on it. He also does a Smallville talk show where they basically go back and rewatch episodes and talk about them every week. They're in season 2 right now. That's
Sounds like
really
a mess.
hey man, I'm just saying
Yeah,
I enjoy that as well.
I watched Marvel several times, so I can't watch it anymore. But I will go back. I'll watch some of the cast. You got
Hmm.
Tom Welling, Michael Rosenbaum. They're friends in real life, so
They
he's
are.
frequently on there talking about it.
Hmm.
Um, the reason I threw it at you was about the deaths was what happens when you find out a lot of them die, and will people really want to go see it? They're like, yeah, it's the last one. They're going to kill a bunch of them. Who cares? I think.
It's the Black Panther methodology. Hear me out on this. I had friends who were not excited to see Wakanda Forever because they said it's a 2 hour and 30-minute funeral. Now you look, no, they weren't being funny. They're like, we already get it. Now I finished Wakanda Forever recently. I'm like, okay, I get it. It was okay. I didn't think it was amazing like I thought Black Panther 1 was. But even with Black Panther 1, I still am wondering why they spent the first 45 minutes on Black Panther when they already did that in Captain America Civil War. But be that as it may, yes, Jellybean, I do think there is a possibility of more Guardians. I really just think it's about how successful this is going to be because, and you may not watch this, but on Disney XD, they've already had 2 Guardian series.
And a special.
Yep, they had Guardians of the Galaxy and they had Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout. So, yeah,
And they had the Groot special on Disney Plus. They had the
dude,
Christmas special
dude,
on Disney
those
Plus.
those are really good, by the way. Don't sleep
And cute.
on
They're
the Groot.
hilarious.
They
Oh yeah,
were
hands
actually,
down.
yeah.
Um,
Curious also asks, or actually doesn't ask, makes a statement. He's waiting on Ironheart. That's interesting because that's one of the TV series that had been shelved. Not shelved as in it's not going to air, but it's
it's
been pushed back. It's
yeah,
another
it's
one of
been
those things that have been
shuffled.
delayed.
Yeah.
And I think movies have a direct impact on the series. If the movies don't do well, that just causes the series to kind of get shuffled back a little bit more.
You know what? I actually like that question, Curious, is because uh, Guardians 3 is obviously going to be the end of some of these Guardian stories that we know of,
Mhm.
whether they die or they live happily ever after or whatever. I think you could conceivably see a Guardian story continue from a limited series where you maybe you grow the ranks, maybe
Mhm.
you bring Sylvester Stallone's Ravager in, or
Mhm.
any of these things. I think even if Guardians is a hit, I think they're going to want to rebuild things a little bit, potentially before they put money down on another movie. So
Right.
I think we may see a Guardian limited series run, 6 episodes maybe,
Could be
just
something like
to
that.
replenish the ranks and see where it goes. So that's a possibility. As for Ironheart, I know there are a few people waiting on that. Um, what do y'all think? Are you do y'all look to Ironheart as the Iron Man mantle having been taken by her, or are you looking for anything new? Are you looking at any of the other characters, or are you just waiting for them to throw an incredible amount of money at Robert Downey Jr. and beg him to return?
I think it's probably a little bit of both. If you have movies that continually don't do well, oh, you'll see Chris Evans back sooner than later, and I think you'll see Robert Downey Jr. back a whole lot sooner if that trajectory were to consistently go that way. Now, one
Yeah,
other thing I think, and I want to get this out about Guardians 3, one other thing I think hurts them is they were the quirky side of Marvel for the
yep,
first movie and a half. But all of a
yep.
sudden, post Endgame, a lot of the movies from Marvel have been quirky, silly, funny, jokey. I'm not going to reference the Screaming Goats, but I certainly could and feel justified in just shaking my head. The first time it was funny, 12th time not as much. But the point is that quirkiness that they had has now been absorbed and adopted by everybody. So you know what? All of a sudden, they don't stick out as well as they used to.
Yeah,
Rod shared with us he's completely checked out on Marvel movies. Dude, I get it. I get it. There's a lot more people out there like you, I think, than people give credit to that idea. And I think that's exactly why financially they're struggling. Now, listen, they could have a lot of walk up business this weekend. That's what
yep.
happened with Creed 3. Creed 3 was tracking for, a bucket of ribs and a Dr. Pepper zero sugar. And all of a sudden, man, there was tremendous walk up business. And it did extremely well the first week. And everybody's like, that's why we don't do tracking. Look how great this is. And
Yeah.
then the next couple of weeks, it just kind of did what was expected, which is it was a good movie. It was not going to be a financial juggernaut, but that first weekend really helped it get as far as it did.
Well,
Um,
hey, can I
but
jump out here?
yeah,
So yeah, Rod, you know what? I do understand where you're coming from about these movies. After Endgame and Infinity Wars, they're not counting the Spider-Man movie because that was that was a completely self-enclosed kind of story, I think, with the different Spider-Men and going back to the roots of the other trilogies or trilogy and duology. I think there's definitely been there's been a quality difference from previous to where it is now, and also we don't want those people that we used to that we love. We don't have them anymore. We don't have Hemsworth as Thor. We don't have Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. We don't have all these different characters anymore as the ones that we've come to know and love. So we have these other characters that why do I care about them anymore? Or we have the Guardians who are around, and as Lord Cephas said, you went from having, the quirky, down on the luck, ragtag band. But if you watch the third trailer, other than Batista pegging somebody in a dodgeball incident, it the tone is definitely serious.
And
It's a
I think sometimes, dude, that plays against. I mean,
yeah,
I want some escapism. Now, Rod, who's joining us this evening, for those who don't know, he's a professional wrestler. He's actually coming out of retirement. So hopefully we can schedule an interview with him in the future, kind of talk a little bit about that. But people watch wrestling. People watch soap operas, which you could argue wrestling and soap operas are pretty similar in their story arcs. People watch television, movies. They frequent YouTube because they want some escapism. And if you're not going to give me that, maybe I'm not as interested in chasing after you as hard as maybe I would have before. But anyway, like the Earl said, hey, you continue to share your thoughts with us. We would love to hear them as we go through. But it's dad joke time, Earl. Are you ready? We want to lighten the
no,
mood. Just I know you're not, but we want to lighten the mood here just a little bit. We do this feature about once a day on our Midnight Magic Musings channel. Sometimes we'll do more than one, but I just wanted to just bring a dad joke here, kind of bring a little bit of levity here. Earl, I have a question for you. Why does Princess Leia keep her hair tied up in buns?
I have an answer, but it's probably not the answer you want. So I don't know.
We prefer a family friendly answer. And the answer is so it doesn't hang so low. You get it? Hang so low, so low, so low. Nope. Okay. Well, sometimes the dad jokes do die on the vine, but it is Star Wars Day, and we're going to talk about that here just a little bit. But Earl, I guess we have to talk about a little bit more seriousness stuff, and that is the attack of the writers. The Writers Guild officially went on strike this week. What does that mean? Well, that means that whatever shows are in the can, whatever movies are in the can, that's all we're going to get. So
Yep.
we saw the first casualties were late night talk shows. They sort of dropped off right away. Um, they're going on hiatus. I think within the next week. I think is how most of those did.
Yeah.
Now that was the first casualty, and I heard some people saying, it's disappointing that the writer strike has happened, and we're going to miss all of that. I did hear an interesting statistic this week, Earl, and that is, it's according to Deadline. Deadline said that James Corden, who just finished up his run on the Late Late Show, he had his last show last Friday night.
Yep.
I'm old, so I don't always make it to those shows. In fact, most of the time I
Yes,
don't.
you
I'll
are.
just see a clip. I am old, thank you, on YouTube. But the story came out that his show generates $45 million, which is fantastic. The problem is on a yearly basis, they spend 65.
Yep.
That means, and by the way, they didn't say that that's net 45. That's gross 45. It could be less than that.
What? Yeah.
So you could see where, after 10 years, that's not sustainable losing $200 million. I mean, you're just throwing money in a hole. And so I do wonder, one thought on the writer's strike is that if you're going to see some reorganization take place once the strike is actually over, will we see AI, or was it Chat GPT, actually be used to do some writing? I know some folk online are playing around with it. And I've seen some pretty interesting stuff. But yeah, it looks like we are going to end up the TV season wherever it is. So, we're old, so we watch NCIS because I'm a fan of it. They got all their episodes in the can before the writer's strike. So I guess we'll get a season finale here in a couple of weeks because May's always been sweeps. So, the shows you got, you may end up with season finales that you did not anticipate. You might be going, "That's it."
Well,
Yep, that might be it.
well, the plus side where the writer strikes back in the day is the season literally went. It started in August or September,
Hmm.
October, and it went
Yep,
through April, May, and then that was it. So if they went on strike at the wrong period of time, that messed up everything for like a year, year and a half.
sure.
The way things are now, you've got thankfully, with the streaming and the releases, there's no set time for all the series to go live anymore. So the plus side with that is we can still have staggered new content coming in
Hmm.
for a decent chunk of time still before if this writers strike goes on to a lengthier time period, we'll survive for a little while. We're still going to have a dry spell, but it won't be anything like what was it in 2000 what
Well, I think
eight
the last one
maybe.
was 2007, 2008, and that was like 3 or 4 months.
Yeah, and but it disrupted everything because remember there was a series out that was very hot, and we were just talking about Marvel superheroes, and that one was called Heroes, and
Hmm.
and it came off the first season, and then the writer strike hit the second season and impacted it, stopped it, broke the chain, broke everything, and even though they came back, it went I think 4 seasons, but it never was able to crawl out of that slump that it had. And there were a lot of series that was impacted that way. We don't want that because we want things to keep going.
Sure.
And you have a fan. Your Star Wars dad joke was funny. It's okay.
Thank you. Appreciate that. I
Boo.
take the
Yeah.
we're a family positive place here.
Rod throwing a joke said I got my girlfriend corrective eye surgery, then she dumped me. Uh, that made me giggle. I'm sorry.
I'm pouring one
Uh,
out for you, Rod. I'm sorry about that, man. I would probably have the same issue if Lady Cephas had corrective eye surgery. Probably
And
be the
then
same boat.
Curious says Heroes was lit for a season, and
Hey,
yep, that
just remember,
it was
save the cheerleader, save the
saved
world.
the world. And Jellybean says Shazam was the star of Heroes, right? And that was actually It wasn't exactly a reboot; it was a revival, parallel series that took place around the same time frame as the original. Just to
Hmm.
play, it was filmed what 14, 15 years later. that
Yeah.
that one actually did star Zachary Levi,
Yep.
but the original starred Milo Ventimiglia. How we say his last name, I butcher it every time.
Well,
From
you're doing a heck of a job. You just keep doing it because I ain't
well,
even
there
gonna
was in
try
the
that one.
script that you sent me. It says venti large frappe, and I know that's not right. So I tried to remember from memory what his last name was pronounced.
Look, when you go live and it's late at night, brother, you do what you got to do. Stay caffeinated and stay focused on what's going on. But this is going to have some far-reaching implications, especially if this takes time. Now, listen, there's still going to be movies coming out.
Yeah,
This isn't going to stop The Little Mermaid from coming out in 3 weeks. This isn't going to stop Indiana Jones from coming out.
maybe it could.
I wasn't going to say it. I was hoping that you would jump on that. There's still movies coming out. There's still TV shows that are coming out. Netflix is still going to drop content. Here's what I would say though: the longer that drags out, the more that benefits you and me. And I'll explain why my crazy thought.
Yeah,
People don't turn on late night talk shows laying in the bed anymore. You know what they do? They're on their
you
phone
too.
surfing. They're at YouTube, Instagram,
They're watching
TikTok,
us.
Twitter, as they should. And so, you know what that benefits small content creators like us. It
Yeah,
benefits the large content creators, Mr. Beast.
like us in about 8 months.
8 9 months. We don't want to toot our own home, but toot, as the kids would say. I think you're going to see much more growth in the YouTube sector,
No
TikTok,
kids say that.
Instagram.
No kids say that. Only senior citizens who just had beans say that.
I am wearing my corduroy pants, so thank you for bringing that up. But I really think that's where you're going to see. You like that, huh? I thought you would. That's where you're going to. I think that's where the writer strike has the potential to really damage the industry, at least from the Hollywood perspective. But it also gives a lot of power to the content creators, which we saw a tremendous amount of during COVID as well. All
Yeah.
right. Well, we have another topic, so let's go ahead and share that. And that is one that's near and dear to my heart, and that's Yellowstone. I do love me some Yellowstone quite a bit, but
We have a
entertainment.
we
Go
have a
ahead.
question,
Yeah,
and
go ahead.
maybe you can clarify this because I don't know what it is either. Uh, what are corduroy? Yep.
My
This is
my lord, how old am I? Thank you for whoever asked that. You
thank
young
you, Jelly Bean.
you
You are
young
now my
you
favorite.
yeah, you youngin you. Okay. Well, one day you'll get a little older and have the silver and the gray on your head like I have on mine. Inability to see, inability to chew raw
Oh,
vegetables, all that kind of stuff.
oh.
Corduroys were just a type of pants in the 70s and 80s that were actually kind of scratchy. And they had rigid lines down them, not like a stripe situation, but it's hard to explain. But they were made with the same material, oftentimes, that bean bags were made out of. They had corduroy covered bean bags. It was a different time. God bless my mom, who's no longer with us. I love you, Mama, even
Thank
for the
you,
rest of
Jelly
it.
Bean. You
Yes,
that
yes.
I think I'm gonna have to turn that into a short for you, Lord Cephas.
I'm
This
sure it's probably going to show up, yeah, on YouTube sooner than later. But ET released a breaking story yesterday afternoon, yesterday evening that they were confirming, according to sources, that Yellowstone will be writing Kevin Costner out of the series here in the back end of season 5.
but
Well,
not anytime
but
soon.
and therein lies the writer's strike, because you know what? Nothing is happening right now. Is it possible you could see some reconciliation between Taylor Sheridan, who is the writer, producer, creator of all things Paramount, apparently, and Kevin Costner, who may be going through a very severe personal crisis going forward? Could you see some reconciliation? Maybe for Yellowstone, the time actually benefits that show. I'm not saying that it will, but it's a possibility that maybe having the extra time allows them to work some things out. Regardless of whether they work it out or not, I really do believe this is going to be the end of the Yellowstone series as we've come to know it. I fully expect them to write John Dutton out, hopefully in a blaze of glory, because it would make a very good story if they didn't. For all the things he survived, just to like have a heart attack sitting in the line, getting a cup of coffee at
Ingrown
Dunkin' Donuts.
toenail turns gangrenous. He doesn't get it amputated and he dies.
So
I
what
would,
is
I
this
would, I
final
would watch.
destination Yellowstone? Is that what you're
I would
suggesting the
watch
show turn
that.
into?
I would watch that. Rod wants to remind us of uh, corduroy pants had ridges built right into the fabric.
Thank
So when you
you.
walk down the street, you heard a sound, vroom, vroom, vroom.
There's a
And
lot of jokes there. We try to be family friendly, but Rod's on point. I mean, I can't deny it.
well, Curious actually throws out. We hear Kevin Costner's on the way out. So what
Yeah.
does that mean? Who might be coming in?
Oh,
We've
I'm
heard
ready.
confirmed that they are in talks, whether it
Yep.
was about a sequel series or a continuation series, something like that. And three words, which is really just the same word three times, does remind everybody that Yellowstone will be all right, all
All
right,
right,
all right.
right, all right. That's
Al-
yes.
Although there have been a few news reports that uh, an interesting actor who's been talked to about potentially joining the Yellowstone family would be Keanu Reeves. Uh,
I mean, could they afford him coming out of John Wick 4 and the success that it's been? I don't know.
well, the plus side with the Keanu Reeves is he does do projects that he wants to do.
Sure.
And look at the man. What was it? The man from Tai Chi. And let's
Mm.
face it, the first John Wick wasn't a hey, let's sign on and make a bunch of money. It was something he wanted to do.
Right.
And the sequel series or the sequel movie he wants to make, he's been wanting to make for almost 20 years, is still John Constantine. So he does have some movies out there that he does because he wants to do them, uh, like 47 Ronin. And then obviously there's movies you make because you're going to make some money. So you know
Now,
what?
you mentioned Constantine. Isn't that Constantine? John Constantine?
No, we are not watching The Sandman, so we don't pronounce it that way. Constantine, I knew your ancestor. Well, are we all as ornery as I am? No, that's just ad lib that part. But you know what?
Well,
Uh,
he was also Constantine in Crisis on Infinite Earths when Lucifer Morningstar appeared on Earth 666.
well,
And
that
it
would
had
be Matt Ryan was that Constantine.
that's the only
Uh,
one I acknowledge. I do not acknowledge the
well,
Keanu Reeves version.
well, then you, sir, have failed the city because you have Matt Ryan was Constantine on his own series that lasted, I think, 13 episodes on Fox. He was
No,
written
no,
in.
no. It was NBC. They were the follow up to Grimm on
Oh,
Friday nights.
I apologize.
Not a
Uh,
problem.
for once, your note said Fox, so I'm sorry.
Hold on.
You,
Let
I
me write that
apologize.
down. The Earl apologized. Yes.
This stream will be deleted very soon. Um, so, but then Matt Ryan had the opportunity to reprise his role on Legend of Tomorrow, and then some of the little cameos or merging of the Arrowverse. But we do have a different version of Joanna Constantine on the Sandman. Obviously, Keanu Reeves played a different version in the
Mhm.
movie Constantine back in, I believe it was '05. So,
Right.
I mean, there are different versions of him out there. There is a multiverse of the DC as well, because even this was a few comments back uh, when we were talking about checking out of Marvel.
Yeah.
Jelly Bean did say waiting on DC. So there is more than one superhero group out there. But you know what? Yellowstone, I think with their prequels, they've proven to be a powerhouse to battle some of
Mhm.
these other shared universes because their shared universes are making money
They
and
are.
are sticking around and making a difference in the stories. And so, question comes back to: will the lengthy wait for Yellowstone season 5, the second half, will that impact the continuation of the fan base for the original flagship? Will it impact the season 2 of 1923? Has that been filmed? Do we even know that?
I don't believe it's been filmed yet, which creates more problems because that story left off on a cliffhanger. You've only got 8 to 10 episodes for the season 2. You better get that thing streamlined.
Yep.
As for Yellowstone season 5, you've got to get the actors back on set. You've got to get the camera people, the grips, the gophers, everybody who is on that production. You got to get them all back. But you can't do that until you write the story. And
Yep.
Paramount green lights it, and we're ready to go. And so, unfortunately, I think Yellowstone is creeping up very close to Mandalorian territory, where it's going to be an excessively long wait. Now, remember when HBO did this with like The Sopranos, where
Yeah.
they would have like a year in between, or in one case they had, I think, a year and a half.
Months. Yeah.
But people kept coming back. Now, with our ability to consume media pretty much anytime we want, that one's a little bit more hazardous, I think, by going too long. Because you know what? In the world in which we live, and again, I'm old, but out of sight, out of mind. If you don't
Yeah.
keep it in front of me all the time, there's something else for me to look at.
Well, we do have some fans of John Wick in the comments. Alexander said
Uh-huh.
John Wick is off top. What is that? On top, I believe.
Oh,
Uh,
so you don't know what the young people are saying? I see. Okay, carry on.
no, the screen's kind of small here. And then Jelly Bean says, "Bring in John Wick 5."
I
And you
mean,
know what?
John Wick 4 was a huge hit.
And I think John Wick is showing what Yellowstone has done. The same thing. You make something quality content. You give the
Yep.
fans a reason to come back, and they'll come back and they'll check it out. They did it for John Wick 4 times, and Yellowstone. They were in season 5. You had one season of 1883, one season of 1923. There's a second season coming. We don't know when, but it's coming of 1923. And Sheridan wants to continue
Mhm.
Yellowstone, whether Yellowstone ends and the flagship merges into a continuation series. Yellowstone's going to stick around if you keep the content coming and keep the quality up. And I think that's the big thing.
Yep, we can close it up with this, and that is simply this: when you hit something that just resonates with a lot of America, you got to keep that thing going. I stopped at Bucky's coming back from Georgia a couple of weeks ago on a family trip, and they've got their Beth Dutton shirts and they've got their Yellowstone stuff, and I'm like, well, if it didn't cost $50 for a shirt, I'd probably buy one and probably wear it. But we As you know, the Earl and I got kids. We're balling on a budget. Um,
You're
what?
bald on a budget. That's why
That's
you always wear a hat. I understand now. Okay, continue.
that's hurtful. I do. Even though I'm married, I do have feelings. That still hurts a little bit. All right, we've got one other topic left, and then we'll do a little bit of overtime, and then we'll just kind of see. I know we'll see where some things are, and that is we could not have a show on May the 4th, 2023, if we didn't talk about Star Wars Day.
Talk about
Now,
what?
exactly, Star Wars Day. Or if you prefer, some of you prefer, I've heard from you, Disney Star Wars Day. I mean, just do it how you want. But I want to share something interesting with you, Earl. The 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi
Mm-hmm.
is this year. It's this month.
Yep.
And so they placed Return of the Jedi in select theaters. And by select theaters, it was less than 500. It was
Yep.
400 and something. Would you believe that the per screen average was $10,000 for every screen that showed Return of the Jedi? That doesn't
Really?
seem like a lot of money. But here's the kicker. That per screen average is higher than Super Mario Brothers. It's higher than anything currently in the theaters. Return of the Jedi beat them all. Now, could you scale that up to the same amount of theaters that Super Mario Brothers has? Probably not. But it's an interesting microcosm that here's a movie that's 40 years old, but the fan base came out to see it. And we've
Yeah.
talked on the show several times about the mothballing of the original characters. That we want the new characters because we own this. This is what we created. We want it to be a success. I think this is again an example of if you give fans what they want, they will come.
Yeah.
And literally, Disney put no press into this.
Nope.
They didn't advertise. The only reason I knew, Earl, is because you told me about a month ago, and then we started following it.
Yep.
That's the only reason I knew. And so on Star Wars Day, when Return of the Jedi is in theaters, still making money, I want to give a shout out to them, Earl. And Star Wars Day, what making it rain? Absolutely.
Ray.
I know. So Earl, at Star Wars Day, we're kind of in a lull. You got the Return of the Jedi out through the end of this weekend. Then we're waiting for Ahsoka, and then maybe the Acolyte, if that ever actually happens. Who
And the
knows?
skeleton crew.
Yeah, and I'm sure there'll be a third season, The Bad Batch. So we'll see where that goes. But on Star Wars Day, Earl, where is your fandom? Let me assess it. Where does your fandom for Star Wars sit today? Is it at a high level? Is it excited? Is it just Is it I don't even care? Where is your fandom today?
You can't. My fandom is probably reflected by what's behind me. You can see I am a fan of Star Wars. I've got Vader. I've got Vader. I've got the little figure Legos on the top shelf. I've got Tie Fighters and X Wings, the Millennium Falcon. I've got some of the Legend Sith Lords. I've got the Thrawn series. I've got the X Wing series. I've got Stackpole and Aaron Alston, and my fandom, where my fandom is right now, it doesn't reside with the Mandalorian. It doesn't reside with Ahsoka. It doesn't reside with anything that they're putting out right now. It doesn't even exist with the sequel trilogy. My fandom lives and breathes off the original trilogy, the prequel trilogies, and
Mhm.
the books and comics and video games that they've released, because that's where the heart is.
Right.
Everything they've had that's been coming out. I loved Mandalorian season one. It was a gunfire. It was a spaghetti western
Mhm.
with a surprise baby Yoda, and it was fun. But after season one, it changed, and I understand why. But for me, my fandom, where my heart is, it's still where the heart was when it
Right.
was still fun, when Star Wars was still fun. And that's just what I want. I want Star Wars to be fun again. I want it to be exciting. I want me to care about it. And right now, I don't. That's where my fandom is. It's looking at what was and enjoying what was and remembering that. It's a day of remembrance for me. It's not looking forward yet because Disney. and Lucasfilm and the current project leaders haven't sold me on Star Wars for this current era. And the era I'm talking about is this year, last year, next year, the year after that. I'm worried about where it's going, so I'm embracing what I know and love and has been proven to be fan favorite. What about you? Where's your Star Wars fandom at, Lord Cephas?
So I wanted to get Broken Ansible on the call tonight. He wasn't able to be here because I wanted to hear his review of The Mandalorian season 3 and why it was the greatest series ever made. But we could not get him on the show in time. Here's where my fandom is. I will forever love the original trilogy. I will forever love the prequel trilogy. You know, I've come in my latter years to kind of understand what the point of those was. See, when I saw it, I was much older than I was when I saw Star Wars, so I knew Star Wars. And I saw this like, well, this is for kids. In reality, Star Wars has been for kids all along.
Yeah.
It was a Western in space. But our generation had already lived through it and read the books. And so we had a more discerning or maybe more judgmental eye and ears of what we expect, what we knew it to be. My sad place right now is that Star Wars does not hold the place in pop culture it once did.
Exactly.
And I've said this before and I'll say it again. Marvel is this generation's Star Wars. And even though I love Marvel stuff and read the comic books growing up, that still pains me because Star Wars should be a property that should go on forever.
Yeah.
You realize there's thousands of years of stories you can tell.
Oh,
And yet, in spite of all that, we tell the same story all the time. It's always the Skywalker story, which is fine, but at some point you have to move beyond that. And by the way, slapping the name Skywalker on you as your last name does not make you a Skywalker. Just had to get that off my chest. You're still a Palpatine no matter what you say.
unless you want to say the Palpatines created the Skywalker, so they're the 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 progenitors of the Skywalker line.
Oh, I'm pretty sure you can make that argument pretty well. But my fandom just kind of sits out there, sort of, hey, I'm just kind of over here remembering what it was, and
Yep.
hoping that in the future we'll see something else. But you know what? I'm at the point in my life, dude, where don't tell me, show me.
Yeah.
And so until you show me, it's just words. And you know what? Words are cheap, and they don't mean a whole lot. So on this Star Wars Day, I'm grateful for the Star Wars we've had. I'm not super grateful for the sequels. Uh, I'm struggling with Mandalorian right now, where that's going to end up, and the movie futures, if those even happen, because I'm not even convinced of that anymore. Because I feel like they announced a lot of things, and then they just disappear in the middle of the night. They're like, oh no, we weren't really going to do that. What? Why don't you go film
Yeah.
another? Why don't you go film another segment of Galaxy's Edge and put in the Mandalorian? That's what I say to you. Oh, I'm sorry, that didn't happen. Hmm.
Well, we got a few of us. We have a Curious went and saw it in theaters. Said it was epic.
Excellent. Excellent.
Jellybean got, and Curious said, Curious wanted us to give the shout out for Das Rendar is the man, and
Absolutely.
that was the book that took place between Shadows of the Empire, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Never,
So yeah,
never let a failed stand-up comic program your droid.
so yeah,
Just saying.
Das was the substitute solo smuggler dashing guy.
Yep.
See what I did there?
I see you're clever.
I think he said Lobot.
Well,
But then Alexander said you also do a review on the Alien movies. That's an interesting idea.
well, I'd have to come over to your house and do it. You'd have to hold my hand because I get scared about these kinds of things. So.
But I think we should move on from that after Curious says not the Glover Lando. I believe he's talking about Donald Glover's version of Lando in Han Solo, which I thought overall was a decent portrayal of Lando. Before there were a few quirks or storied moments in his that were we didn't see coming.
We didn't
And,
want to see it coming either.
We didn't, and that's but uh Yeah, I think that's good. We'll just leave Lando there, right there.
I think you could say it was the first human love with an AI. And because we try to be family friendly, we're just going to move on past that. But yes, 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 indeed. All right. Well, you know what? That kind of ended on a negative note, Earl. So you know what we need? Do you know what we need? We need another dad joke. That's what we need. And here we go. Another Star Wars related dad joke. Earl, you'll appreciate this one. What do you call a rebel princess who only shops at Whole Foods?
What?
Leah Organic. Get it instead of Leia Organic, because you shop at Whole Foods and Whole Foods are organic.
I
Wow.
regret not
Mm.
smothering you with a pillow when we were younger.
Sometimes I regret you not doing it too, so that's perfectly fine. All right. Well, if you're still with us, we don't know why you would be, but thank you for doing it, if you would. But we're going to go ahead and move into our triple M overtime. What does that mean? That means that is our chance to just touch on just minor things here and there that maybe didn't hold a whole topic, but there's some interesting things that you could probably mention here as we go through. So,
Okay.
Earl, you have a topic or something that interests you want to throw out there first?
All right. If you didn't see it, you should have checked out Watcher Files. We got Twisted Metal video game. You know, with all the activity with The Last of Us and Super Mario Brothers and the upcoming Legend of Zelda, they got a 8 episode Twisted Metal uh, TV series coming to Peacock. That's going to be It's going to be interesting. I'm not sure what else it's going to be, but it's going to be interesting. You can watch the teaser. We talked about it a little bit. You can check that out if you want to. Samoa Joe will be portraying a Sweet Tooth, and I'm going to use him to edge over to the other thing, which is this weekend. There is also on Peacock an event going to be playing that I will be checking out, and I think Lord Cephas will be checking it out, but not exactly when it airs. And that would be a following thing that we like to call Combat One.
That's right.
And so there will be a Combat One coming this weekend, hopefully. Uh, if not Saturday night or Sunday night. So stay tuned. We'll give you an update on that. But those are always a lot of fun. We'll have to get a Rod to shout out some opinions, maybe if he watches it. So that'll be interesting to get it inside somebody who actually was in the business doing it, and be like, oh yeah, I like this part because of this or whatnot. And
Sure.
so that'll be interesting. To bounce over, I got a few other things. We've got the second season of Jack Reacher will be coming out soon for Amazon Prime. Alan Richardson he was phenomenal in the titular role of Jack Reacher, obviously.
Mhm.
So the first season was very, very good. Check it out. It was a very good adaptation of the first novel by Lee Child.
Mhm.
Also with Amazon Prime, rumors of the next season of the upcoming season 2 for Lord of the Ring fans will be coming soon. Not necessarily this month, but maybe next month. But stay tuned. We haven't heard anything concrete one way or the other. Also on Amazon Prime is The Citadel with starring everybody's favorite young wolf from not Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones. That sadly had a bad wedding. We'll just leave it at that.
It
And
happens. Yeah.
and the first 2 episodes dropped of The Citadel. It's kind of like a sci-fi-ish James Bond feel to it vibe by the Russo brothers. So you know what? Check it out. I watched the first 2 episodes. I'm not sure about it, but I'm going to watch the third episode, and I might give a drop on that next week when we do this and say watch it or don't watch it. But you also has Priyanka Chopra Jonas is also on there, which would be which Jonas brother? The baby.
I'm
Jumanji
sorry.
dude.
I'm sorry. You think I know the Jonas Brothers? That's cute.
Well, baby Jonas brother wife.
Lady Cephas watches The Voice, not me. I
But
watch it
anyway,
if it's in the background and I have to.
so we're not going to refer to Priyanka Chopra Jonas anymore. We're going to refer to the Jonas brother as Mr. Priyanka Chopra Jonas. That's now his name. I'll figure out his name later on, but it doesn't matter. So that's on there, and I think that might be all I've got to throw. What about you, Lord Cephas? Do you have anything that's pressing, that's on the spur of the moment, on the tip of the tongue, on the edge of the spear, on the whatever else is at the front of the Greyhound bus that you smacked because you walked across the pedestrian crosswalk when you shouldn't have?
So, first of all, I'm a little disturbed by your lack of care of pedestrians in the
Well,
crosswalk.
I
But
was thinking more like Rocket, the roadkill that we were talking about earlier. But continue,
you
continue.
know what? You're a hurtful little man. Okay.
I'm not.
I do want to
I'm a
talk about
hurtful big man. There's a difference.
I do want to talk about the Citadel for a minute. You mentioned that it has the potential right now. They're calling for it to be the biggest IP in the history of Amazon Studios, Amazon Prime. It attracted. Now this is what Prime Video put out there. One of the largest global audiences in the history of Prime Video.
Yep.
So can it hold on to that? Maybe. Um,
I'm
they
going to
didn't.
throw a line. I'm going to throw a line out there. Stanley Tucci is also in the series, and this is from the trailer, so it's not really a spoiler. You know, he convinces the main character to go. He's like, "I'm a spy," blah 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 blah. And then later on, he's like, "But you said," he goes, "You can't trust me. I'm a spy." I'm like, I love that. I love it.
Or as the great Eddie Guerrero, who's long since passed away, said, "One more thing, I lie." So he'd say whatever he wanted, and then he would just punctuate it with that.
Yeah.
So that made it okay. So as we finish up this thought on the Citadel, so they didn't announce numbers, right? Maybe Samba TV will do that here in the next couple of weeks. But what they
Yeah.
did say was it came in behind Rings of Power, which had something like
Yep.
25 million viewers its first day, which was a
Yeah.
really huge number. And then it kind of trailed off a little bit there. Well, and by a little, I mean a lot. But that's a good start for the show, right? I mean,
Yep.
hey, you know what? A new IP, something we haven't seen, that can be really, really helpful.
And the star's name is Richard Madden. You would know him from Marvel as Icarus, or you won't. That's up to you. He,
If you
the,
saw it, yeah.
he's given credit for the first on-screen happy time with superheroes, and also Prince Charming for Disney many years before that. But again, Game of Thrones. But there are rumors that Mr. Richard Madden could, in fact, be having a martini in his future.
Really.
Shaken
Shaken,
martini.
not stirred. Right.
And, if you watch The Citadel, you're like, man, he could potentially pull it off, I think. But
Maybe. We'll see. Well, I've got one more little thing to touch on here, and it's not a little thing for this individual, and that is Jamie Foxx, who has had a bit of a health condition, and I guess it was kind of undersold maybe of how serious it was. But I do know that Nick Cannon's going to be stepping in for him on. He has a show on Fox called Beat Shazam. It's a music show, right? And Nick Cannon's going to be stepping in for him to help him on that show. I couldn't believe when I read this today, dude. It's already been 6 seasons he's been hosting this show. And
yep.
so our thoughts are definitely with Jamie Foxx. Prayers for him. He is an amazingly talented individual, not just as an actor, but as a singer and as a musician, who I think, unfortunately, that gets ignored far too often, unless you saw Ray and really appreciated it for what it was.
Or Night Shift.
Yeah, where he actually got to show that his range of skills and abilities. But
Night Shift, he was a vampire slayer with Snoop Dogg.
I saw enough of it to know. Let's just leave it at that.
Curious said that he'll check it out. Miss Alexandra said it's Nick Jonas, which is the youngest, and the Real Wade Nation Gaming Clip said Happy May the 4th. And did you ever play Racer, Cephas?
I'd have to think. I don't. It doesn't come out to me right away.
You have to forgive Lord Cephas. He's, as we've covered a few times during this video, he's advanced in age, and his memory isn't like it used to be. His memory's a lot like corduroy, where they faded and they were at this height of popularity many decades ago.
All right, I was willing to let it go. Earl, but since you couldn't, I can't. What Star Wars character sells hot dogs?
I hate my life. I don't know who.
Admiral Snack Bar.
You know what? I felt like this was a trap.
It certainly was. Thank you. Thank you for understanding where we're going. Yes. Yes. We work very well in tandem.
Well, I think that's probably close to the end of our overtime. Do you have anything else to add, Lord Cephas?
You know what? I do not have anything else to add
Well,
other than, other than we just ask everybody to like, subscribe, share. Join us for all the zaniness on a daily basis. We're doing dad jokes every day, bad ones, admittedly, but we're doing them.
yep,
The
we're
Earl's
doing
the Earl's
dad jokes.
dropping, yeah, the Earl's dropping watcher files and other videos. We've got random sports things that come up. We've got wrestling podcasts. We'll probably do one, as the Earl said, on Backlash this week
And
or
don't
this
forget,
weekend.
guys, you are part of the Midnight Magic Music family. You are part of us. So don't forget to leave a comment. Tell
Yep.
us we're right. Tell us we're wrong. Tell us something, and I promise I won't be in the corner for more than 5 minutes crying because Lord Cephas is on the call with me, so he might be over there too, and I don't want to be the little spoon anymore. So leave us a comment, and we will get back to it. And thank you for putting up with the zaniness that is Lord Cephas over there, and the humbleness that is the Earl of Florida. Lord Cephas, take us away.
Well, on that completely discombobulated note, I am the Lord Cephas. I have been joined, unfortunately, by the Earl of Florida for this hour. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for participating. If you're watching on replay, go ahead and leave a comment. We'll read it. We'd love to interact with you. But having said that, again, on behalf of the Earl, I am the Lord Cephas. Have a wonderful week. We will see everybody again next week. So long, everybody.
We love you.
Peace.